it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. Today, I have an amazing guest, and I know I say that often, but I will say one of the things that we receive great guests for is because we've built an amazing relationships in so many communities that we get referrals of people who really connect with the Her Success Story podcast, the Her Success Story community, and the Her Success Story, what we're about. And Sarah Hubbard is just that person. She has spent a numerous amount of years in the mortgage loan business as being an originator, a business development person. But she learned one thing, and this is where Sarah and I align. Building a book of business based on relationships and value of relationships is what has made her succeed and scale in her industry, which has been incredibly male-dominated. It drove her so much that she wrote a book called The Intentional Networker that I absolutely love. I am just going to say welcome, Sarah, to the show, and welcome to a dear friend and other aligned person. That great business comes from building amazing relationships with people.
Ivy, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here today.
So let's go back to the beginning a little bit. You didn't exactly see yourself as a mortgage person back in the day. You thought you were going to put yourself on a different career trajectory. As
Yes.
with many of us, myself included, who never saw herself owning a printing company in her wildest imagination, when she was a dancer and then wanted to be a producer. What led you to the mortgage business?
Very, very pivoting thing. So I was an athlete all the way through high school and college, and I will say the team camaraderie and all of that has built a lot of the value systems that I have today that I am, bring to my relationships. But while I was, of course, being an athlete, part of that realm is getting hurt and getting over, whatever it is. And it's not just the physical ailment, but it's also the mental ailment as well. When an athlete or somebody gets hurt, even like after a surgery, when I see people get like knee replacements today, there's this, there's a 5-6 week window where you're like, am I ever going to get better? Am I ever going to get to the other side of this? And so that was why I was so drawn to physical therapy, because I saw the whole body, not just the physical, but the mental getting healed to get to the other side stronger and better. So I had prepped myself all the way through school to do all of that. And then when I came to apply for a doctorate program, I applied to 12 schools on the East Coast because I'm originally from New Jersey, and I was rejected from every single one of them with a 3.9 GPA.
Ouch.
And yeah, and working full time in the field as a physical therapy assistant. And you're just kind of like, it's one of those moments, and I know we've all had them. It's like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I thought this was it. This was aligned. This was all the things. Now what?
This made sense for everything in the career, everything I desired. And now it's not working.
Yep. And so I was flailing. At the time, I had never owned a home. I didn't know which way I was supposed to go. I came out to Colorado for my cousin's high school graduation, met my now bosses. I say that lightly because they own my company, but really I run my own team now. But they were like, you should come work for our mortgage business. And I remember I just laughed at them. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know anything about this. And they're like, we would teach you. We think you are, highly intelligent and can learn, and just come and interview. And I was like, well, I've got nothing to lose, so let's just do it. And so I did.
Look at it.
And it was interesting because there's 4 gentlemen that still own my company when they hired me almost 15 years ago. But it was just kind of like, but there seems to be opportunity here. Let's give it a go. What do I have to lose?
When you look at the win versus lose factor, you had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out, you just move on to what's next. But if you don't try it, when an opportunity is there, if you don't step in the opportunity, you have everything to lose because you never know what's on the other side of the opportunity.
Exactly. And I feel a lot of people that I have conversations with today, even seasoned business owners, new business owners, that just initial step to just do. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to look like anything. You can think it looks like one thing, but pivot to the other. People just are glad to start. The people that get to the other side and they're like, wow, this was amazing. This ended up working out however it worked out. They, once they take the step, they're so glad that they did. I very rarely hear, ooh, I took that step and, it was terrible and I didn't learn something from it. I hear that, but you took it and you know that you could do it. You had the strength, you had the desire, the willpower, and I think that that was the first step of like, I've got this. I'm early, mid 20s, and I've got this. I am as strong as my mom may say or anything like that.
Exactly. So, so you got thrown into this mortgage business. You had these guys saying, "We're going to teach everything you need to know." That's great in theory, but the mortgage business is, for those listeners who are not familiar with it, let me just I'm going to highlight the little bit of background. Then Sarah, you're going to jump in, please, and rescue me. Um, it's building a book of business. It's sales 101.
Yeah. It's
It's not
completely
about the
that.
mortgage. It's about, hello, you have just come on to a sales role.
Yes, very much. And yes, there are nitty-gritties about what the products are and guidelines and different things. And the nice thing is that you can read about it, find it, like it's not something that's unattainable. But yes, when I came in and was starting to learn and observe and watch, I was watching all of these gentlemen around me. They were crushing it. And I was like, how does one do that? But I was watching it. They were sending direct mailers. And I say this because you owned a printing company. They were
Yeah.
sending direct mailers. I would say a very well worded letter, still to this day, a very well worded letter. And their phones were ringing and they were just making money. And I was like, well, okay,
How do I
I
do
can,
that?
yeah.
How do I do that? How do I,
How do
right
I
now?
sound confident and build trust on a phone call in 5 seconds when somebody's calling me and doesn't know who I am? And like, how do I do this? And I think that there was some training on it, but it was more like you were thrown kind of feet to the fire, like trial by error felt like is what it felt like. And
Oh, I understand that concept.
and I
Back in the
know
day,
that
I was told to figure out sales in the sense of, there's the yellow pages and the pavement. Pick one and go find a way to sell.
pick one and work it. Just
Yeah.
work it and figure it out. And I will say that there's still trial by error today in regards to when different scenarios happen. I'm learning constantly in the mortgage business on a regular basis. But I will say you realize, or at least I realized pretty early on, that, there wasn't a one way that fits all to do this, right? Even though I had watched all of these people have very good success with it and build deep databases and deep client relationships through the act of just doing their job well, I was like, I'm not sure this is for me. I'm not sure this sending direct mailers and waiting for my phone to ring fully aligns with me.
Oh, absolutely. That does it. I don't love the waiting for a phone to ring to align with anything.
No, I mean it felt like it was very much out of my hands. And I feel when you are in a sales role, a leadership role, an ownership role, we're all there for a reason. Probably because we have slight control problems, but because we can take things in our own hands and make something happen with it, right? We will grab the bull by the horns and get out there. And that's why a lot of people can tend to have success in these roles just because of the personality setup. Not everybody, but that's an opinion that I have witnessed and viewed for across the board for a lot of industries, not just the mortgage industry.
So when you then started making it your own, what I was going to say, we learned so many things so fast. Okay,
Yes.
I'm just going to say we learned so many things so fast, and I learned how to slip and fall really quickly. To put it, politely, I was selling something I knew nothing about, so I was winging it. Bad move. I was uh, felt the pressure of sales, right?
Yes.
So the pressure of, I have bills to pay. You're going to stand out. All of a sudden you have bills, and you are, how let's talk about the mindset here for a second.
Ugh, yes.
Okay. Because it is so easy to fall into a defeated mindset, a desperate mindset, uh, 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 like a grabbing at anything mindset versus saying centered, grounded, and authentic. I
Yes.
know I found that as some of my hardest things.
I couldn't agree more with you on the mindset thing because I even see it today with new business owners that are starting. I call it like desperation breath. Like you can feel that
Yeah.
energy. You can. Like whether they are really well scripted in what they say or do, you can tell when somebody's like just grabbing at straws to make it work because they have bills to pay, family to feed,
Yep.
or I don't have another option but to make this work. So I am just out there going, going. But I remember when I started to transition from the direct mailers, which was not working for me. Like I was not thriving mentally, physically in any aspect.
And
And I
you threw a
started
lot of money into this stuff.
like
Let,
over
let
60K in like 8 months. Like I was in it. I decided, well, if this is what they're telling me works, I'm going to try it. And I went all in on it. And I was just miserable. Like you said, that my mindset was, I just remember like coming home to my now husband and we were cooking dinner together and like I was chopping an onion. And I was just, he was like thinking he's helping me, like taking it. And I'm like, I just need to chop this onion this one way. Like, because everything was so out of control, right? The money was out of control. The credit card debts were piling up. I was struggling to pay rent, to pay my bills, to even remotely go out and have a dinner with my girlfriends. Like,
right,
all of
like
it had
actually have a. I
changed.
mean, you're young and you're supposed to have quote unquote a life. Oh, what is that?
What is that? And so it was like I was just like in protection mode, and the mindset was just like desperate. Like, I have to go. This has to work. They're telling me it's going to work, so I have to throw more money at it. And then I remember having a really eye-opening conversation at a conference. And it was a very seasoned loan officer, and at a lot of conferences from the mortgage world, I'm sure this goes across many industries, they're selling coaching program of this or that. And I just remember talking to a woman. She had grown a business for many years in California, and I was just like, "What? What is it that you would recommend to somebody that's newer, really struggling? Like, what are the couple things that you would recommend?" And she goes, "Do what you say you're going to do is one, and two, find however it is that aligns with you, right?" And I was like, "Okay, well."
Hats off to her.
Right. And I mean, she still runs a very successful team to this day, does a really successful coaching program. But I just remember her saying that, and I didn't even need to sign up for it. I took those two things with me and I was like, okay, I've got this. And that's what I focused on was her words of what is Sarah, right? What are my strengths? My strengths are people. My
Yeah.
strengths are relationships. I attract a ton of people to me naturally, which I love. Sometimes it's hard with boundaries, but that's what I do naturally. I don't actually have to put any effort into that. So if I can somehow translate that to get business rolling, even if it's slower, right? Even if it takes me double the time to do it, at least I know that I've aligned with myself and my values as a person. And so I hung on to her words, did what I said I was going to do. If I was making a call, I was making a call. If I was sending an email, I was sending the email. And then just curiosity on people. And I just started to pound the pavement that way, right? Yes, your potential industry could fuel my industry in regards to a business, but also
Mhm.
who are you as a person, right? You and I were chatting before we jumped on. We're both moms, right? Your kiddos are older. Mine is younger, right? I have a 3.5-year old and a 21-week old in my belly right now. So, like yes, we may be in different stages, but we still have a ton in common. And to
Common.
learn that and grab onto
Find
the
the
things
common
that,
ground.
yes,
Find the common
yes.
ground. And I have a hard and fast rule. I don't build relationships with people I don't like, even if it's advantageous to me.
Yep.
There are so many people I really enjoy in this world, and I hope they enjoy me as well, that I have a plethora of people to build relationships with and have the best time doing it. And isn't that fun? And isn't that like the greatest thing? And you're building a family. And I have friends who are like looking at retirement and they're like, what are your plan? I'm like, why would I do that? I'm having the best time. And they're like,
Yes.
and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I love my clients. I love the people I talk to. It is so joyful. Why would I not do things that are joyful to me? I might add in a little more travel here and there. I'm thinking
Fair.
about an awesome trip for 2027, and some little trips along the way, but that's fine. Like, why not? Uh,
Yes.
but if we're working with people and we're doing things and communicating and having the relationships with people that we truly enjoy, I'm literally having I was connected to somebody here's the story you'd appreciate. I was connected to somebody last month, and they're like, oh, blah, blah, you should have Ivy on your show and whatever else. So we jump on one of these quick calls. And I said, so hey, where are you located? And he goes, New York. I said, where are you located? And he's like, 37th Street. I said, where are you located?
Go more. Tell me more.
And I'm like, I'm on 36th Street at this cross, see this. He goes, oh my goodness, I'm like 5 minute walk. I'm like, why are we doing this on Zoom? So we did the recording, but we immediately set a coffee date. And we're like, and it's right. What can you do in that way? And it was just so much fun to then do the interview and then say, oh my God, I'm good. Okay, so where should we meet? And we're going back and forth. Like, do you like this place? Like, our relationship is being built. It's not just the recording, it's the true, honest relationship.
And it's what you learn, even with just the conversation you just shared. If I took that 30-foot view, it's what you learned about that person on their favorite things, right? We both desire in person, right? We jumped right on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
And there's still just little things that you start to learn early on about somebody that you're like, this could be a great connection. This could be a great friendship, relationship, referral partner, whatever it is, but you have to get out there to try it to even find out. And I think to bring it back a little bit just in the beginning when you're out doing this with meeting people and trying to find your people, you know, in the beginning, I remember the sales training was like, you need to talk to real estate agents and you need to talk to this. Well, and I did that. And the people that were producing, right? This is how you're going to make money. And turns out the people that were producing at the time when I was doing my relationship building, they could care too less about, like, they could give two craps about me. Ivy, they were like, can you support me on my social media? And if you can send me a lead, then great. Then maybe we'll talk about doing business together. There was no deep opportunity. They had no interest. So it was me trying to be interested in them, but they were not reciprocated. And I
Correct.
just, that's okay. Move on. Those were not your people. And I think that's where people also get a little defeated in this piece of it, that they're like, well, I know that person closes X amount of transactions a month and that could be a great relationship. And I'm like, could you go out and have coffee with them? Would you invite them over to your house to have dinner? Would you go
100%.
out and have a drink with them? Like, regardless of where we are in business. And if that answer is no, there's probably not a strong chance that you're going to enjoy when you see them call you on the phone or text you or email you. That's what you're looking for. That's where magic happens in your
Happens.
business.
So let me ask you this, Sarah. In the 15 years you've been doing this and have built a really successful career and a growing family, what has surprised you?
So many things.
This
So many
is
things.
why Sarah and I can hang.
I would say, and some of this is self-reflective, and I'm just going to start with the recent and then go back a little bit. What has surprised me is the ability to think I know how to delegate when I have no idea how to delegate. And you're growing and you're doing things and you're
Yeah.
like, yes, it's all here, but it's really difficult to get it from here to here in a clean manner where it's just rolling in your brain a little bit. That was surprising. I was like, no, I'm an excellent communicator. Yes, you are an excellent communicator, except for when work things try to come out of here, you can be subpar at that sometimes. So again, that was surprising. And especially in this season of my life where I've had to subtract instead of necessarily do more. I think a lot of people think I've just got to work harder. And, I'm flexible. I have a great flexible schedule, but when I'm out there, I just need to pound the pavement more and hustle more. And taking a step back in this season of business in 2026, I've gone deeper instead of wider. And I will
Nice.
tell you, I've had far more success in money revenue this year by going deeper and not wider. And so I think that that's something that has surprised me where the mentality and the mindset and what people are teaching you, maybe some dated ways, maybe some not dated ways when you're doing things in relationship building, it's not always about more, it's about depth. And if you can get 5 great people instead of 20 semi okay people, you will have far more success, far more enjoyable time doing what you're doing and be as excited as you are to continue to do what you do
Right.
when there's depth instead of volume. And I think
So
that
what
that's
I'm
something
hearing
that,
is
go ahead,
quality, not quantity.
all day long. I'm snapping for you. Those are snaps. You guys can't see us right now, but I am snapping because all day long. And that I think surprised me when I hear these teams in my mortgage world, produce and they've got like 20 real estate partners. And I'm like, I've got six that I know in and out. I could call, they call me. They've brought dinner over for me in this stage of life where I'm flying solo, pregnant with a 3.5-year-old, because our relationship is more than just the transaction. They know they can call me and I can be a resource for them in any aspect, but it's also I'm their friend and I am a great person to them. And people are like, "Oh, wow, you only have 6 like referral partners?" And I'm like, 6 great ones. That it is a reciprocal
Yeah.
relationship, okay? It is not just I take all of their deals and make it happen, which I can, but I also refer back to them. And I keep it small because I want them to feel valued. I want them to know that I care about them and I'm thinking about them and thinking about this could be the right person for you, not because you're the next up on my list to give business to.
So let me ask you this. What drove you to write a book?
Well, I started to talk about networking with a lot of referral partners, not just real estate agents, just people all over that were in very crowded industries and felt like, "Oh, I know I need to be doing this networking thing as part of my marketing plan, but like I'm just not enjoying it and I just don't really know." And so I realized after the last maybe 3 years, I was kind of coaching people on how to network properly and network to their strengths, okay? Not because some other really successful person in their field is doing it this way, but because this aligns with who they are to attract who they want. And I started to speak on it. And as I was speaking on it, I was put into rooms with people that are notorious for being great at their practice, but not super great at people: attorneys, CPAs, engineers, IT tech people. And the questions I was getting were like, how do I actively listen? Or, tell me more about how to sit down and hold eye contact with somebody. And I was like, oh, we things that are innate to me that just happen very genuinely to me, they don't happen that way for other people. And I was like, I would love to be able to spread my message about how to do
Wow.
it for themselves and empower them to do it that aligns with them. And it seems like a book could be a great way to do it. And I just started kind of, I'm not a great like sit at a blank screen and write kind of person. I'm a much better verbal person. So I just started to talk and
Fair.
talk to text, and that's how it came about. And really my goal with it was to just get in people's back pockets to empower them to know that they can do this. Introvert, extrovert, ambivert, doesn't matter. If you can master some ways that make it sound like you and feel good and align with you, you will have enjoyment and success in what you're doing when you're spending time in this one area of marketing.
I love that. I love that. I have to ask, okay, as we close, get ready to close. If I asked you to share one tip from your book or not from your book for listeners who are building books of business, doing relationship building, or curious about relationship building,
Yes.
what would your tip be?
A little twofold. Being prepared will help alleviate a lot of the anxiety before you walk into any meeting, whether it's a one-to-one, whether it's a room of 20, and you can use technology to do that. But curiosity and active listening will get you so far about learning about that person and whether it's a yes or no for you, and finding out if that magic that you have aligns with the magic that they have.
I love that. I love that active listening. I cannot agree more. And I'll always say, be more interested than interesting.
all
Ask good
day long.
questions and keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
Within reason. We want to share some, but just be more interested than interesting. Don't be salesy.
And
Truly.
that's why I tell people that are feel introverted, they're like, I'm not great at icebreakers or
Oh,
conversation.
they're
I'm like,
so much better at it.
yes,
They
yes,
are
they
so,
are amazing active listeners.
I spent my childhood, I am by heart an introvert. Everything everybody sees out there has been worked on. In my heart of hearts, on my first date with my husband, he goes, "Oh, I'll park. Can you go in and tell you the maitre d' like that, that we're here, check us in?" I'm like, and I looked at him, I was like, "I don't do that." He goes, "Excuse me?" I said, "I don't do that." He goes, "What does that mean?" I was like, "I don't talk to strangers." He goes, "He's a maitre d'. He works there." I'm like,
He's not,
"Yeah,
you're like, that's a
yeah,
no for me.
yeah." So that's a story for another day. Sarah Hubbard, thank you so much for joining me here on today on Her Success Story. It is always a blast and a joy to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And listeners, this is what I say at this point of the show as we come to a close, and I hope you enjoyed a fun conversation because I certainly did. Take a deep breath in. Identify just one thing, one takeaway from today. Jot it down somewhere. It doesn't matter if it's your phone, your computer, a piece of paper, all is good. Here's the key. Create one action from that takeaway. Every week you identify one action you can take. I promise you, you will move forward. Thank you for joining me. If this was helpful to you, please share it forward with others that would be helpful too. Hit subscribe. We come into your inbox every Monday with great new guests like Sarah and some fabulous content that is shared out here. I appreciate you joining us. Till next time. Thank you. Bye.